afternoon. AMOS POE. It's really an honor that you're here, that you will guide us through this evening, through this afternoon, with a lecture, and afterwards at 7 o'clock with the film screening of Empire 2 on Maria-Hilfer-Platz. Ich freue mich ganz besonders, hier AMOS POE vorstellen zu können, und zwar als meinen sozusagen ersten Akt aus dem Institut für Kunst im öffentlichen Raum. Es ist mir ganz wichtig, denn diese Arbeit ist eine Verbindung von sämtlichen Formen, von sämtlichen Ausdrucksformen. Wir haben Film, wir haben Architektur, wir haben Skulptur, wir haben bildende Kunst, wir haben Malerei, wir haben Musik, alle diese Dinge vereint, die dann auch auf der Fassade am Maria-Hilfer-Platz zu sehen sein werden. AMOS POE wurde 1949 geboren, ich habe das fälschlicherweise mit 1950 im Folder noch angegeben, mich heute korrigiert, und er wird oft als Vater des modernen amerikanischen Independent-Kinos bezeichnet. Und er ist ein prominenter Vertreter des New-Wave-Cinema, das von der Mitte der 1970er bis zur Mitte der 1980er ungefähr parallel zur Punkmusik aus der lebendigen Szene, Musik- und Kunstszene der Lower East Side in New York entstand.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Elizabeth and Barbara Casper for inviting me to Graz. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to screen Empire 2. In 1972, I came to New York. I'd been living in Buffalo and Vermont, and I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I'd already been shooting for a few years some sort of short films in Super-8. Most of them were like music videos. They basically, in those days, I would listen to records, and listening to music sort of created images in my head, and then I would film those images. So that's how I started making films. It started taking over my life on every level, psychically and emotionally and spiritually and everything. And I knew that I couldn't do it in Buffalo, New York, or Vermont, and so I decided to come to New York to live in Manhattan. And I arrived in early December of '72, and around the corner, I lived on St. Mark's Place. It was the Village, a very kind of bohemian atmosphere. And around the corner, there was a place called Anthology Film Archives, which was at that, still run by Jonas Mekas, who's a great filmmaker, sort of avant-garde documentarian, experimental filmmaker. And the first film I went to see there was Andy Warhol's Empire. So that was my sort of my welcome to New York underground film. You're used to watching movies where there's action movies or dialogue or, people, and this is just this singular experience. And I always joke about it that, I fell asleep a couple of times during the watching of the film, and I don't know how long I slept for. I think probably maybe even an hour. And what I was amazed with is that when you fall asleep in a regular movie, you kind of go, hey, what did I miss? What did I miss? What happened? How'd they get there? Whereas with this film, you could fall asleep at any time and wake up, and you didn't miss anything. And I thought, that's just brilliant. In 2005, my marriage was breaking up, and I had to find an apartment. And I'd always had these loft-type apartments, or lofts, or more garage-like, or spaces, usually fairly large. And I decided that I really maybe wanted to get a view of, like a room with a view. And I had a student in my classes who was late one day to class, and I said, Oh yeah, why you're late? You know, where are you coming from? And she said, I'm coming from this place, 1 Christopher Street. I have an apartment there. And I knew the building. It's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful old building. And I said, that's not far. That's like a few blocks. How come you're late? Anyway, I realized, okay, you got to give me the name of the superintendent of the building, because I want to find out if there's an apartment there. So she gave me the name of the superintendent of the building. I called the guy up, and he was busy, but he said, let me see, and then I actually walked to the building, and he called me back. He said, I don't have time to show you an apartment. There's one apartment. Somebody has to leave. And it was right after Katrina, the hurricane, and the person had to go back to their family in New Orleans. And I said, what do you mean you don't have time? He said, well, I only have 5 minutes. And I said, well, I'm right in front of your building. He said, you're right in front of the building? I said, yeah. He said, all right. So he brought me up, and they opened the door, and I saw the view, and I said, I'll take it. So the first thing I brought in the next day to this apartment was this PD-150 mini DV camera that on a tripod, which I brought from my class. And then just placed it there. And there was this window, which you'll see in the film, and it was a balcony. And of course, right in front of it was the Empire State Building. I turned the camera on, and you know, I flipped open the screen, and I went, huh, wow, this looks like Warhol.
Surround